It's turned down.
Okay.
It was already.
The prophet said the whole place should have the holy name constantly.
It was
chanted.
cool.
Yeah.
We joined in. We could sing.
I get embarrassed about these things.
Well, it's true though. The other day I was sitting in our place, and it was like I was right here. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, maybe that's kind of nice.
It is nice.
But
Really?
Wake up, some people were sleeping.
it's turned down now. Am I wrong to have asked for that? I don't know.
It was already. I don't know.
It was already turned down?
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe the conditions were really good. Anyways, okay. Narayana Namaskritya.
Narayana Namaskritya.
Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tito Jayamudira. Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha,
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha,
Hridyantasto Bhaktarani,
Hridyantasto Bhaktarani,
Virunoti Suritsatam,
Virunoti Suritsatam.
Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta Presha Bhadreshu,
Nashta Presha Bhadreshu,
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya,
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya,
Bhagavati Uttamashloke,
Bhagavati Uttamashloke,
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki,
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable pact. So you have a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyways, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy, verse 36. Iti Utva Rosha Tam Raksho Iti Utva Rosha Tam Raksho Vayasyan Rishi Balakaha Vayasyan Rishi Balakaha Koshiki Apa Upasprishya Koshikyapa Upasprishya Vajram Visasarja
What?
That's what is ha.
I thought it was at the end of the first word, the word. Anyway, never mind.
It's okay?
It's not all one word.
It's not all, it looks like it's one word.
It's not.
It's two words.
It's actually separate.
Police officer.
I forgot what that's word.
Well, they all ultimately come out as one word.
It's
Vajram Visasarjaha Ityukva Rosha Tamraksho Vayasyan Rishibalakaha Koshikyapa Upasprishya Bhagavajram Visasarjaha Ityuktva Rosha Tamraksho Vayasyan Rishibalakaha Koshikyapa Upasprishya Bhagavajram Visasarjaha I think there was two. Ityuktva Rosha Tamraksho Vayasyan Rishibalakaha Koshikyapa Upasprishya Bhagavajram Visasarjaha Let's chant.
Ityutvara rosa tam raksho Vyayasan rishika balaka Kaushikyapi upasrisha Vagrajam visat sarjaha
Vishwatam Raksho
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Vasayan Rishi Balakaha
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Vasiki Api Upispra
Kaushiki apavasya
Vajram Visa Sarajaha
Bhagavatam visasajaha
Ityukvarosatam raksho
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Kausikyapa upasprisya
Kaushiki apavasya
Bhagavatam visasarjaha
Bhagavatam visasajaha
Ityukvarosatam raksho
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Kausiki apa upstrasya
Kaushiki apavasya
Vajram visasajaha
Bhagavatam visasajaha
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Vayasayan Rishbal. No.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Vayasan Rishi Balakaha
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Kausikiyapa Upaspriyasaya
Kaushiki apavasya
Vajram Vishasarjaha
Bhagavatam visasajaha
Carry on the track.
Ityukvaroshatama raksho
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Vayasyanam rishi balakaha
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Kaushiki apa upasprisya
Kaushiki apavasya
Vajram visasarjaha
Bhagavatam visasajaha
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Ityukvaroshatam raksho
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Vayasyan rishi balakaha
Kaushikapa upasprisya
Kaushiki apavasya
Vajram visasajaha
Bhagavatam visasajaha
Big clap for Bhakti. They did good.
Yeah, actually, I was just talking with Mataji, that there is a verse that says that even though these verses may be irregularly composed or chanted, the full potency is always there. So should be not shy about chanting. Even if you don't do it exactly, the pronunciation correctly, Krishna sees the intention.
Then they have no choice. I put them in a spot.
Well, the only way to get good at it is to be bad at it at
Yes.
first.
Yes.
When you get good at it, just keep trying. I remember when I started too, it's like, when I got to where it would be just fine except for the last word. If there just wasn't a last word, it would be all right. You know.
The second verse really got me.
So, okay. So word meanings. Iti,
Iti
thus.
Thus
Uktva,
Uttva
saying.
Saying
Roshatamra akshaha,
Roshatam Raksha
with red hot eyes due to being angry.
With red eyes due to being angry
Vayasyan,
Vayasyan
unto the playmates.
Unto the
Unto the
planet.
planet
Rishi Balakaha,
Rishi Balakaha
the son of a rishi.
The son of a rishi
Koshiki,
Joshisi
the river Koshika.
The river Koshika
Apaha,
Aha
water.
Water
Upasprishya,
Upasprisya
by touching.
By touching
Vak,
Vak
words.
Words
Vajram,
Vajram
thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt.
Visasarja,
Visasarja
through.
Through
Ha,
Ha
in the past.
In the past
Okay, so translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada
The son of the rishi, his eyes red hot with anger, touched the water of the river Koshika while speaking to his playmates and discharged the following thunderbolt of words. Please repeat. The son of the Rishi,
The son of the Rishi,
his eyes red hot with anger,
his eyes red hot with anger,
touched the water of the river Koshika
touched the water of the river Koshika
while speaking to his playmates,
while speaking to his playmates,
and discharged the following thunderbolt of words.
and discharged the following thunderbolts of words.
The purport now. The circumstances under which Maharaj Parikshit was cursed were simply childish, as it appears from this verse. Shringi was showing his impudency amongst his playmates, who were innocent. Any sane man would have prevented him from doing such great harm to all human society. By killing a king like Maharaj Parikshit, just to make a show of acquired Brahminical power, the inexperienced son of a Brahmana committed a great mistake. Was born in the darkest of ignorance, and a spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, I don't know how caught up you are that have been traveling or just arriving or something, but of course this is the situation in which Parikshit Maharaj gets cursed so that the Bhagavatam will be spoken. So he has been out hunting, got very hungry and thirsty, came to the hermitage of a sage who was so deep in meditation he did not know that there was a guest. And even though he was the emperor, the sage ignored him inadvertently and did not give him water or a seat or kind words. And so the unprecedentedly, the emperor, who actually was a highly qualified great devotee and trained king and could control his senses, unprecedentedly he forgot himself and gave in to his senses and gave in to anger and took offense and put a handily placed somehow dead snake on the shoulder of the meditating sage and left, all mad. And the boys apparently knew about this and told Shringi, the sage's son. And Shringi was, I think, he was about 10. I don't know, we were discussing this yesterday, about how old he might have really been. So yesterday, 13. You think 13, I think 10. Because
He cried.
he was crying. When he was unhappy with having done it, he was crying. And so he was crying loudly. And usually teenage boys don't do that. They don't cry loudly. So he was crying loudly. So that's why I picture somebody younger. That's why I picture.
Well,
I don't know what it
that
says.
boy once and not cried.
Don't tell
A
him.
man cried. It was a man cry.
It's such a very serious thing.
Yeah.
Anyone could cry.
Yeah,
all
really,
messed up.
really. But anyways, what happened was, then he cursed. He pronounced this curse, and then he cried afterwards because he, was so heavy. Such a thing he had done. He went to his father and cried. His father did not even care about the snake. He saw his son crying. So what's wrong? He took the snake off and threw it away. What's wrong? He didn't even connect the snake with why the boy might be crying. And so he says, I have the snake on. Why are you crying? And so that's where we're at in this story. And tomorrow will be the words of the curse itself. What was I going to start with? The boys were innocent, it said. The young boys, we were discussing where did we see that that somewhere some dramatization said the boys guilty. What?
Yeah, it was the book that your husband was reading.
Yeah, Amala Bhakta was saying that the boys were egging him on. Well, it says here they were innocent, so I think they were like an audience. They were only egging him on in the sense of boys, but they were innocent, they weren't doing anything.
No.
They might have been Brahmana boys also, because on the hermitage maybe other Brahmana boys lived there, but they were all inexperienced, all young and inexperienced. And so they had the power. Shringi at least had Brahminical power. Young as he was, however young he was, he learned meditation from his father, and he was born in a Brahmana family. He was powerful already. He could curse the emperor of the world to die in 7 days. He could call up Tataksha, the sacred. So that's really powerful. But he had no experience in how to use his power. So boys will be boys and show off. I I actually have a similar experience in a way in my own background, and I think I was 9 or 10, and the boy that I played with, because geographically nearby to play with, and he was the same age, his father gave him guns. He had a BB gun, he had a 410 shotgun, I think he had his high-powered BB gun, BB pistol at one time. And he was allowed to go hunt birds or something. He was just a kid. So he was showing off to me. He had some kind of mood going on that day, and he was aiming it at my head. Yeah, high-powered BB pistol. And I was saying, don't do that, Alan. Put that down, Alan. And he was aiming at my head. So I just like in here, any sane man would have prevented him from doing that. But he was an inexperienced boy, and he was just showing off and expressing some mood, I don't know what. And because we were pretty good friends, we played well most of the time, but he had that notion that day. And somebody who's willing to kill birds is willing to do, it's like meat eating makes you more willing to do bad things. Just like they won't, it's actually against the law to have a butcher on a hanging jury, on a jury where the death penalty is an option, because a butcher will say, yeah, go ahead, kill him, because he's so used to it. He's so used to the killing. So as a protection of fairness to the accused, a butcher can't be on that jury. So it's a law. I've heard it before somewhere. I've heard of this. Probably more than once. So anyway, Shringi is accustomed to having some Brahminical power. No doubt he's experienced it a little bit, because how could he show it off that he knew he had power? So he must have known something about how it feels to use it. But although you use it too much, you use it up, because it comes from austerities. It's sort of like money in the bank. If you do some big powerful curse or some big powerful healing or something like that, then you deplete. So in other words, it's a material thing. Brahminical power of this nature is a material thing. It comes from austerities. And he must have known something about how to do it. And I noticed also in a little detail, he touched water. The water was in the river. He touched water while he said it. Arjuna also touched water when he pronounced the mantra to send the Brahmastra to defeat Ashwatthama's Brahmastra. And so we're always wondering, does that mean he didn't perform Achman? Like we have an Achman cup and we say, like that. But he just touched water. He just says he touched water. And in the Sanskrit, it doesn't say Achman or anything like that. So perhaps the fact of being in contact with water, and Shringi touched a river when he pronounced the curse. Apparently, you just have to touch water. So I thought that was an interesting little detail too. Let's see. And then this childishness. Let's see if I can talk. Childish means no mature qualities yet. And I'm going to trespass on tomorrow's verse a little bit, so you can read, because it's worth repeating anyways. But I'm not going to say the verse, but this topic about the qualities of the Brahmanas. The boy did not have Brahminical qualities yet. He just had Brahminical power. Just like my playmate had the knowledge. He knew how to shoot a gun. He could aim it. He was pretty good at it. He could carry it around. He knew the safety rules. But he didn't have maturity, so he played with it, and aimed it at my head. And scared me. It was his thing to do that day. And anyways, I used to always chastise him for shooting birds. You do them anyways. So, anyways, sometimes when you're playing, you have fights. It's one of the things we talk about. But anyways, they aimed it at my head. So, immaturity, childish. And Alan was showing off to me. And this boy, Shringi, was showing off to his friends. He was also mad, he was offended, and it all blended together to show off with his friends. Just like when we were playmates and start yelling, my dad's better than your dad. That's what the boys would say, well, my dad's smarter than yours. My dad's better at this thing or that thing than your dad. So boys will do that too. And that's another reason why I think I pictured him as being like about 10. Because it was like he was old enough to have acquired some Brahminical power, but wasn't very mature at all. He didn't seem to have any notion of maturity yet. So to my how I picture it when I read this. So it's said to be the beginning of Kali Yuga. I could also mention that we were discussing how Kali was given the permission to reside where there's gold, and certainly Maharaj Pariksha wore a gold crown. I don't know whether he had gold on him when he was out hunting, but he did certainly wear a gold crown, and he gave Kali permission to be where there's gold. So perhaps Kali was instrumental. It's all Krishna's arrangement, but perhaps Kali was instrumental a little bit in the scene where Parikshit Maharaj did this pretty low-class thing of putting a dead snake on a great rishi's shoulder. So somehow he did this, and then the boy did a pretty low-class thing. He cursed the emperor of the world, who was a pure devotee, saintly king. Well, he didn't look very saintly, perhaps, right in that moment, but he was, and everybody was living under his protection, which is what his father told him when he found out what happened. He was so horrified what happened. He said, we're all living under his protection. How can you do this to this great personality? So even the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas are like a team at the top of society. The Kshatriyas do the protecting, and they protect the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas protect the religious principles by education and by their own purity. And thus they protect the Kshatriyas by training them properly and guiding them. So, and by educating all of society. So the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas protect one another, and they protect society in different ways. They're a team of very different types. And they have to work together, and here is a split. The Brahmana class cursed the king, the protector of the world, the one who kept the world pure, and kept Kali pretty much kept Kali at bay, but Kali got into this Brahmana boy by Krishna's arrangement. So anyways, that two great, the sage was so deep in meditation that he didn't even hear the king present, and the king was speaking to him. And the king was so pure that he could keep Kali at bay for the whole kingdom, not for himself at that moment. But very great personalities here. And teammates in the protection of society. So, and this happened. This is the beginning of the split. And then there's something a little bit more that happened. Not only was Srini of lesser quality than his father, so who knows what he would have been like when he grew up. Would he have been pure, or maybe he was already, if this hadn't happened, was he already starting to be less than purely Brahminical in quality? So anyway, I don't know, we don't know, but Janamejaya, the son of Parikshit Maharaj, who was crowned king when Parikshit Maharaj found out he would be cursed in 7 days, and he renounced the whole kingdom to prepare himself, he crowned Janamejaya king to reign after him. And as soon as the snake bird bit Parikshit Maharaj, Janamejaya arranged a huge sacrifice in which all the snakes would be killed. All the snakes in the world. And interestingly, Tataksha, this is Talavana in the 12th canto here, Tataksha, the snake bird who had actually done the deed, took shelter of Indra. Interesting story that I just read, looking this up. Tataksha felt the pull. Apparently, when the Brahmanas chant mantras, if whatever's supposed to be in the fire is pulled to the fire. So Tataksha felt himself being pulled, and he took shelter of Indra. And Indra being Kshatriya, somebody takes shelter of you, you have to protect. So Indra hung on to him to protect him, and the Brahmanas, and Janamejaya told him, told the Brahmanas, chant mantras so Indra will be pulled in too. Pull them both in. So the Brahmanas started chanting this way. And Indra felt himself falling and being pulled toward the fire. And I forgot who, but a sage connected with all this, I forgot who it was. He spoke to Janamejaya and said, you should not do this. These are innocent snakes. Well, they have karma, he said, but they didn't do this deed. And so you are doing this wrong thing. And so the sacrifice was called up, but he had already killed a lot of snakes, and he was ready to kill Indra just to kill Tataksha. So I would say this is also not the highest example of a pure devotee Kshatriya, like Maharaj Parikshit was. So apparently the Kshatriyas started to go down then too. And even though he did stop the sacrifice under the advice of the sage, but it was still less, really, it was done in anger, and it was done unfairly, and it was less than Parikshit Maharaj's standard would have been. So already the Kali Yuga is starting in different ways. It's begun to be seen. Even before Krishna left, there were bad omens. And this was some time, quite a few years after Krishna left. Because I read also Parikshit Maharaj had 4 sons, one of which was Janmejaya, and he toured the world. So this is enough time for all that to happen. So it was at least quite a few years. And Janmejaya was grown up enough to function as a king. It was quite a few years after the Pandavas left, and they left soon after they found out that Krishna had left. They had been watching omens, they saw that things were changing. So Kali Yuga was coming in piece by piece anyways, it's a time for Kali Yuga. And this immaturity, childishness, let's say, of kings and brahmanas began. So the childish immaturity, misuse of power, not developing the full qualities began. And we see it now that some people are born in a Brahmana family and they claim to be Brahmanas, they don't have the qualities, they go and get a job or something. And then we have, of course, we don't have any real kings anymore. We don't have any official Brahmanas anymore except by heredity. We don't have sacrifices anymore because there are no Brahmanas able to do that. The only sacrifice we do have fire sacrifices, but they're not the key. When we have fire sacrifices, we chant mantras honoring the great spiritual masters and great devotees. But the key isn't the fire sacrifice when you get initiated or married or something. The key is the chanting of mantras honoring the great acharyas and the Hare Krishna mantra. That's the chanting is the key that makes it work. Not really the fire sacrifice, it's a ceremony. And in the old days, the sacrifice was the thing. It was the key. They had to pronounce the mantras just right, and it was sort of a technical thing. And if you could say the mantras right, if you could say the mantras right, you get the results. You accent correctly, the syllables correctly, everything. It's this sort of the science of sound vibration. You can manipulate material reality a bit with the right mantras pronounced correctly. But now we don't have brahmanas who can do that, so we don't have those things. We just chant Hare Krishna and honor the great acharyas by chanting their mantras, and we chant verses in the Bhagavatam, which we can do it wrong and it's still there. It still works because it's above that kind of technicality. It's much stronger. It's Krishna himself. And even if you say it wrong, Krishna himself is there. And then we have the English, and Prabhupada gave us the translation and the purport. So the meaning of it, it comes through. And that's the important point nowadays. So, what time is it? Let me see. Can't see the clock. It's got the window shining on it. 10 after. Okay. Well, maybe I'll just read from my book where I collected these things, the qualities of the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Let's see.
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
The first thing that occurred was the sage's meditation was so deep he was not aware of the king walking in. It's my understanding that in Krishna consciousness, Krishna, who's in the heart, would reveal to the sage that
you'd think,
that there's a special occurrence taking place, something unusual taking place. Even though his meditation was so deep, it seems that if he's meditating on Krishna, this would be revealed to him. So it seems that the first stage of Mahamaya was that the meditation should be practical.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it says about, let's say, Shamika Rishi, whether he was like a pure devotee or an impersonalist, I don't even know. I didn't even know what she was. But then, if this Lord is in the heart and the Lord has a plan here, then the Lord just, behind him, and cover your eyes, cover your ears. You will see nothing. You will hear nothing. Because I have a plan. Who put the dead snake right in the yard there? Why is there a dead snake in the yard? That's unusual too. How often do you find a dead snake just laying in your yard?
You couldn't consider it Yogamaya, though. You're saying Krishna put his hands over Sage's eyes. It would have to be Mahamaya.
Maybe. It depends on if the sage is devotee. Because if it's Yogamaya helps Krishna's plan too.
Right.
So Maya also.
Yeah.
Mahamaya is also helping. My understanding is more like
help us forget.
Like Mother Jasoda's looking in his mouth, Krishna's mouth, and she sees the entire universe, and then she thinks, oh well, I'm not too hungry, and then she starts to breastfeed him.
Thank you.
But Mahamaya can also help. Mahamaya is helping push and protecting. She's protecting Krishna from the impurities, from those souls that are not pure, and she's helping us to become pure by giving us obstacles. And can I just make one point? You made earlier about boys will say, "Well, my father's better than." There was one thing that you never did when I grew up. When I grew up right outside New York City, there was a code. You could say something about the father, but if you ever say anything about your mother, that was trouble.
Don't talk about my mom.
You just don't. You say something about your mother. The worst you could say is, "Well, your mother wears contact boots."
Yeah, it's a fight.
If you went past that,
It was a fight.
there was blood in the street.
Well, we were in the city.
Well, I wasn't in the city either. I was right outside it, but still, the vibe was there.
Alan came from Chicago. We lived out in the country. But they moved from Chicago, so he probably picked that up. But he didn't. No, he didn't ever. There was no mother insulting going on. So maybe.
No, I just think playing with guns, for a child, is just absolutely, completely, totally insane, irrational.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. I remember my friends who got BB guns. I didn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
I had a sense this is just not good.
He was allowed to. His father had right behind our house. There was a tract of wood. There was a creek and a tract of woods, and he put a big dam in the creek and made a pond. And he wanted to make a go of creating a fish pond business, trout pond. You pay for your trout. You pay to fish. And he never had very many fishermen there. He never had much money from that. And I don't know how he could have got much money from it. There's only so much fish in that pond. But anyways. The boy was allowed to shoot kingfishers, because kingfishers would eat the trout. So he was allowed to shoot kingfishers. That was the reason.
That's a bird?
It's a bird.
Yeah, it's a bird.
It's
it's
really
a bird. It looks a
pretty,
bit like a blue jay, but when you see it flying, it's not a blue jay. Dives in the water, gets fish. Yeah?
Shai had a fishing. It was a really nice class. So I was listening outside, and you said at one point that Lord Indra is Kshatriya?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, is there some scriptural reference or someplace where Prabhupada says that Varnashram also applies to the demigods?
It certainly does. I don't
I
don't know one scripture particularly, but I know that it does.
It extends throughout the universe.
I just heard that in a class just recently. Prabhupada was saying it's in the animal society. He said it's not just here. It's all over the universe. It's in the animal society.
It's everywhere.
It was a very early class, like 1966, in New York, obviously. And I was surprised because it was such an early class, and he was talking about Varnashram is everywhere. And what caught my ear was that he said, even in the animal society, I was trying to figure out, like, certain animals are, well, I couldn't understand that, but he said that quite emphatically.
In sex society as well. Bees are completely...
Yeah, that's right.
Bees are organized, that's true.
Yeah. The drones.
So they,
and the workers.
And there's the queen. Yeah.
that there's different kinds of, in a way, there's different kinds of varnashram. There's natural varnashram. There's all these types occur naturally, and they usually end up doing their kind of work. Like Americans, we don't believe, Americans don't grow up hearing about varnashram or anything. But what do you try to do? You try to find the kind of work you're suited for. So in that sense, it's there, and you should do something, contribute to society anyway, something positive, and you should believe in God. That idea is sort of there. So we have rudimentary. We have the elements. It's not organized with full understanding. Yeah. And then there's demonic varnashram, which is all just materialistic. And then there's Daiva varnashram, which is centered on Vishnu. But the types are there. There's always the intellectual types, mild-mannered, peaceful, intellectual types, and there's always, call them nerds maybe. But, they're there, and the big, Kshatriya types are there, and there's always business people, and there's always people looking for jobs.
I was thinking about Bali Maharaj, I'm sorry. Bali Maharaj was, that whole pastime, he's being told by the Brahmin, and he's a Kshatriya, he's being told not to give to Vishnu.
So yeah, they have that's in the demigod level, although they're the demon side of the family. That's in demigod level. So there too. Yeah.
The group that was here from Alachua, they were doing a Vinashram intensive or some type of seminar on the road. I guess they had tests, analysis. Do you know the name of there's a Japanese gentleman that came up with the system.
Yeah, they were calling it Ikigai. I don't
That's
know.
it. Iki what?
I think there's a guy who came up with the system.
Ikigai.
It's an ancient Japanese way of finding your purpose in life.
Your purpose. And it had like circles and what do you like to do? What do you get paid for? What are you good at?
It's like inescapable. Like there are
they were telling us.
All kinds. There are trees that lose their leaves and trees that don't. It's inescapable that there are types. There are types of people, types of trees, types of everything, types of animals. It's inescapable. It's just understanding the proper use. So I wanted to read the qualities of the Brahmanas and the qualities of the Kshatriyas. So I just have these quotes in my book, so I'm going to read some anyways. Okay, this is Bhagavad Gita 1842, spoken by Krishna. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Obviously, Srini did not have, he had possibly austerity down and enough self-control to do his austerity. But he didn't have a whole lot else here. He didn't have these other things yet. Okay, let's see. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1.14.34, by Brahminical culture, the development of the dormant qualities of goodness, namely truthfulness, equanimity, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, general knowledge, transcendental knowledge, and firm faith in the Vedic wisdom, one can become a Brahmana and thus see the Lord as he is. The stage of a devotee which attracts the transcendental affection of the Lord does not develop unless one has developed the qualities of a Brahmana as above mentioned. So this is a movement for creating Brahmanas, Prabhupada said early on. At the same time he said we need Varnashram. At the same time he said, okay, first he presented it, this is a movement for creating Brahmanas. We're to be the Brahmanas for society and we aren't to be the other classes. But then it was we are to be the Brahmanas for society and teach society Varnashram. And then we had, wow, so many devotees falling down. They're not Brahmanas. So we need Varnashram. I think that was his plan all along, but he had unfolded it in stages. That his plan was to create a society that demonstrates Varnashram. Meanwhile, we're all supposed to be trying to develop the qualities of Brahmanas. So how does the two things exist? Well, in real Varnashram society, it's for fostering the qualities, the Brahminical qualities in everybody. And I guess traditionally in ancient times where they weren't thinking directly about going back to Godhead, but reincarnating and bettering, then they would, okay, if the Shudras do their service nicely as Shudras, they can become higher birth like that. So everybody is supposed to, sooner or later, develop the Brahminical qualities. And we are supposed to develop the Brahminical qualities. If we don't have them yet, meanwhile, we should have some understanding of our ashram so we can have a place where we can grow according to our level. Sort of like you might say everybody isn't supposed to go. You might say everybody should go to college. But some people need their primary education yet, like that. So whatever level we're at, we are supposed to advance toward the Brahminical qualities. Because a Brahmana knows spirit and matter, knows the difference between spirit and matter, really knows it, can teach it, can live it. So we're supposed to develop that. Yeah.
Well, but I'm just remembering that Prabhupada made a distinction between Pandit Brahmins and Vaishnava Brahmins.
That too, yeah. Because Pandit Brahmanas are what? Just Brahmanas.
They're there for doing the academic ceremonies and they're Pandits. They may know all the Shastra too. They may know all the Shastra, but the Vaishnava Brahmin is trying to actually become servant of Vishnu.
And there's the Vipra too. Sometimes the word Vipra is used to mean all the Brahmanas, but sometimes it's explained that Vipra is like a lower class Brahmana. They're real good at the material knowledge.
Right.
So Vipra is a Brahmana too, but
he's an expert.
He's an expert in material knowledge at least. And sometimes the word is used to mean Brahmanas, but I saw where Prabhupada explained that that's what it usually means, a lower class Brahmana who's expert in materials. Because the Brahmanas taught society material things too.
Right.
The whole Vedic system has all the knowledge. It has practical material knowledge too, medicine and farming and building homes and that kind of thing too. So those things were taught as well. And some duties are just practical duties to the community. So all these things were taught. Morality, things like that. So I may as well find the page on Kshatriyas. Let's see. Maybe about that too. Okay, here's our qualities of Kshatriyas. Okay, heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. That's Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 1843. The symptoms of a Kshatriya are power and fame. Prabhupada summarizing Narada Muni's teaching, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, Introduction. To be influential in battle, unconquerable, patient, challenging, and charitable. To be forgiving, to be attached to the Brahminical culture, and to be always jolly and truthful. These are the symptoms of the Kshatriyas. Narada Muni, Srimad Bhagavatam 7, 11, 22. Okay. Now one more. Those who are fit for management and protection, they should be trained as Kshatriya. One class of men, very strong, good brain for management, administration. Okay. So we have some idea of qualities that should be developed. And you have a particular type of service to do. You have a particular type of ability and a particular type of service. What are the qualities of character that go with that service? So 7th Canto, Chapter 11, and to the end of the chapter has a lot of information about that. So 7-11, like that store, 7-11, is that there's a store called 7-Eleven?
Sure
So you go pick up your Bhagavatam and go to 7-Eleven and start reading to the end of the chapter. Yeah, then you can read a whole lot about Varnashram. So, any more questions?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
We were talking about the sage not being informed and
Not being informed.
not
realizing that.
Yeah, that the king was there. And the concept of 1515, that Krishna gives remembrance and forgetfulness, and as you said, like comes out here. Because that story had to lead to the Bhagavatam coming about. And if somebody said, hey, wake up, the king, it would have had to come another way or it wouldn't have happened.
What did wake him up?
His son.
Crying.
Yeah, the
His
crying
son was
from his
crying.
son. His son came back.
Yeah.
All that time, all that happened, and the sage was still.
Yeah.
They say.
And then his son came back crying, the fatherly instinct, or else that's when Krishna allowed him to come back. So
I found something on water and
something on water?
curses. Yeah, this is from an article on a site from India. It said modern science has yet to discover the power of the words and water, but a day will come when they will appreciate the ancient Hindu discovery of these powers. Hindus believe that the word can be transformed into energy. A medium like water can be used to transfer it to the victim. And so they use water as either the energy from the water or putting the energy. They're saying, that's what they're
It's
saying.
connected, yeah.
So they have to be water. They give all the quotations from the Mahabharata and other Puranas and other scriptures where water appeared to be used in some kind of way in connection with the verse.
Yeah. They could also travel places by water, by entering water one place, they come out somewhere else.
It's a medium.
By mantra, they could call water to them, the Ganges.
So they
That's
can,
right, you could do that too.
so it could get.
The science of sound and the science of water connected to sound is very deep and unknown to us.
And it's interesting, in the 10th chapter, I think it says about a fish on the shark. It said of sacrifices on the chanting of the Maha Mantra.
Japa, right? And
Japa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we may think, oh, just japa, but it's the greatest sacrifice. We just begun by familiarity, and every day I chant my japa. By familiarity, we may not be thinking about that, but it's the greatest of all sacrifices. Even before Lord Chaitanya started the movement so that it would become worldwide to chant Lord names, Krishna said that. Of sacrifices, I am japa. Does it say the chanting of the names in the verse?
No, I think it said japa.
Just japa? But everybody knew that what it meant, so. Anything else? Okay, thank you all very much. All voice to Srimad Bhagavatam, all voice to Srimad Bhagavatam.